It's 12 GMT in Banjul and wherever you may be, this is our midday news. First, our headlines. President Jammeh and his Mauritanian counterpart pledged to resolutely implement wide-ranging agreements reached by the two countries in Nouakchott. Government confirms the presence of the former Bissau-Guinean Interior Minister and Chief of Defense Staff in the Gambia. CNN uncovers evidence suggesting that the Sudanese government is using cluster bombs against rebels. And Syrian forces resumed their bombardment of the town of Hula days after the gruesome killing of 100 children, women and men. These and other stories coming ahead this half hour. My name is Abubakar Dabo. While in Mauritania, President Jammeh had a meeting with Gambians residing in that country. The new residency law passed by the Mauritanian authorities was one of the main talking points during what was dubbed as a family meeting. Aissatou Bajansar was following and she now reports.
It is customary that President Jammeh makes provision to meet and discuss with Gambians during his state visits to any country, and it was no different during his trip to the Islamic Republic of Mauritania. Though it was an impromptu one, but one that was appreciated by Gambians in Nouakchott and its satellite areas. The meeting, which saw scores of Gambians in attendance, was to discuss with their leader on some of the issues affecting their stay in Mauritania. Well, from the statements made during the meeting, it was apt that President Jammeh took time off his tight schedule to talk to Gambians so as to have first-hand knowledge of how his citizens fare far away from home. The gathering stood to give the president a befitting welcome into the meeting hall, but not long before they spoke of their dissatisfaction with the new residential regulation issued by the host country. First was the Gambian ambassador to Mauritania, Mamadou Badji, who told President Jammeh that Gambians there, as anywhere else, are peaceful and law-abiding. Ambassador Badji said that before Gambians do not pay residential permit in Mauritania until of recent, when the authorities decided to levy permits on them, which he said has brought hardship to the Gambian community, as they are not engaged in any lucrative ventures in Mauritania, and moreover, most of them are students striving hard to make ends meet. Badji also told President Jammeh that the Gambian community is also grappling with lots of challenges in the area of schooling, saying the only Gambian school at their disposal is suffering as a result of high rentage because they don't have their own structure. Other speakers like Lamin Kante, Hadi and Abdoulaye Sissawa applauded President Jammeh for his immense development undertakings in the Gambia, highlighting areas such as education, health, agriculture and infrastructure, which they say has helped put the Gambia high on the world map. They also buttressed on the issue of the residential permit, which they pleaded with the president to help them address as soon as possible. They also commended their ambassador Mamadou Badji, whom they say has been very helpful and works day and night just to ensure that Gambians in Mauritania are safe. Lamin Kante also pleaded with President Jammeh to extend his Hajj package to the Gambian community in Mauritania, which His Excellency the President immediately responded to, promising to send 22 of them every year to the Holy Land of Mecca. When it was his turn, His Excellency the President told the gathering that he will not waste time in tackling head-on the issue of the residential permit with his Mauritanian counterpart, saying he saw no reason why Gambians in Mauritania should all of a sudden be asked to pay permits and at a high cost, when Mauritanians in the Gambia are enjoying the exemption from residential permit. On the issue of the school, President Jammeh promised to construct a school for them within the next 2 years. President Jammeh also promised to help alleviate their status in Mauritania. The Gambian leader nonetheless commended them for being good ambassadors of the Gambia in Mauritania, whilst urging them to continue being so. It was a long meeting, but one that both sides appreciated, but more so the Gambian community in Mauritania, who could not help but shower praises on their president, whom they describe as a one-off leader, not only on the African continent, but the world at large, a leader who also there the welfare of his people, both at home and away. Aissatou Bajansar, GRTS.
Day two of President Jammeh's visit to the Islamic Republic of Mauritania ends with the issuing of a joint communique which spell out agreements reached by the two countries. The agreements cover key areas of cooperation like energy, education, trade, transport, amongst a host of others. As the Bajansar reports, the two leaders have reaffirmed their commitment to implementing the agreements to the letter.
After the two-day walking visit by President Jammeh to the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, which was characterized by private talks with his Mauritanian counterpart to examine the bilateral cooperation and exchange views on issues of mutual interest. The visit also avails the two leaders the opportunity to analyze prevailing regional, continental and international issues, and also site visits to projects which the Gambia can learn a great deal from. The visit resulted to the production of a joint communique which was countersigned by foreign affairs ministers from both sides. The joint communique harped on various issues and sectors of mutual benefits to both sides. The Gambian Foreign Affairs Minister Mamboure Njie read for the Gambian side, while President Jammeh and his counterpart sat and listened to their agreement.
The two presidents examined the various sectors which could improve and reboost the trade exchange between the two countries. They took due note of the existing of a trade agreement which was signed on January 23, 2001, as well as protocol agreements for the development of exportation of livestock products. With a view to develop and promote trade exchange between the two countries, the line ministries were urged to accelerate the process of updating the trade agreements of 2001. The two presidents agreed to reinforce the development of multimodal transport in the two countries. The ministers responsible for maritime and aviation sectors of the two countries are urged to meet in order to take the necessary measures concerning the opening of two maritime and air links between Nouakchott and Banjul.
The communique harped on key sectors such as air and maritime transport, with its line ministers urged to meet and discuss necessary measures. Energy, trade, education, tourism and infrastructure, and the further enhancement of bilateral ties between the two were all dealt with in the communique, all geared towards the acceleration of human, economic, infrastructural growth of the two brotherly nations. On the regional and international arena, the two leaders reiterated their call for constitutional order in Guinea-Bissau and Mali in accordance with the pertinent decisions adopted by ECOWAS, the African Union and the United Nations.
The two presidents lauded the recent evolution with the United Nations granting women more rights, more powers to enable them to contribute to prosperity, peace and security at the national and global level. Concerning the Millennium Goals, they are convinced of the necessity to make more efforts to lessen the suffering caused by hunger, disease and illiteracy. However, the two presidents reiterated the need for global reform of the Security Council and the United Nations system in its entirety so as to reflect the current realities.
President Jammeh and his Mauritanian counterpart also reaffirmed their resolute support for a peaceful, just and long-lasting progress in countries such as Palestine, Egypt, Syria, and the world at large. For the hearty and brotherly reception and generous hospitality accorded to him and his delegation during his two-day walking visit, His Excellency President Jammeh expressed gratitude to his brother and development partner, Mohamed Ould Abdel Aziz. It was an action-packed two-day walking visit that His Excellency the President, Sheikh Professor Alhaji Dr. Yahya Jammeh, undertook to the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, a visit that was done in reciprocation of the visit made by the Mauritanian leader sometime in 2011, geared towards sustaining and strengthening the bilateral ties that exist between Banjul and Nouakchott, dating back many years. The visit, which was characterized by private talks and visit to project site, is expected to not only further cement ties between the two nations, but also open new avenues of exploration for the mutual benefits of both countries, cognizant of the fact that the Gambia and the Islamic Republic of Mauritania share many values in common. Aissatou Badiane Sarr, Grts.
Meanwhile, the office of the president informs the public that two